Thanks, Nancy. Hello, Adam. Welcome to the Automation X.0 event.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Great. So let's dive right in, Adam. So you had a very interesting career so far, and you have a lot of accomplishments to your name, including authoring a book. So I wanted to kick off this discussion by delving into your journey and how did you end up within this incredible AI and automation space?
Yeah, so the book is entitled, and the focus of the book itself is kind of on the notion of how to be a futurist, right? And the notion of that being, how do you imagine a more forward-looking future in all areas of life, including technology, things like AI, automation, things we've been talking about here. But as far as my journey, how it's taken place, it really started from childhood, where I grew up around a lot of technology for a lot of my life. My dad is a computer engineer, and we were probably the only family in our neighborhood that had a server in our basement. So I was kind of always surrounded by new technology and gadgets that my dad would bring home. And after college, I joined a tech consulting firm, and it's led me down a path of working side by side with a lot of large companies that were notably behind in technology a bit, and really working side by side with those companies to watch them slowly improve their technology over time. So I got to really see that full arc of how companies were evolving technologically, and then drawing from some of my exposure of what was maybe an unhealthy interest in science fiction over the years. I saw kind of increasing amounts of what was once fiction becoming this reality, and it got me to draw out those parallels and start thinking and predicting where the present would kind of mark its way towards that future. So automation, AI, insert whatever new technology, is really this natural step on on a journey of using technology to enable human endeavors, including the workplace. So my involvement in automation and tech has really evolved from this is the particular technology that's really having a moment, and it's it's not just a concept that people are imagining or talking about. It's very real. And so that's really how I've gotten involved with it. It's just the technology that's really at the tip of everybody's tongue, and it's becoming something that's so essential to every business's operations.
Well, that's great to know, Adam. Thanks for walking us through your journey. And you're currently, of course, working at the wonderful company, which is a family-run business. And it's truly fascinating, looking at automation, AI, and the multiple technology areas that you currently have within the wonderful company.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a bit about the company, Adam, and your automation story, including, when did you get started on your automation journey, and why did you feel there was a need to do automation in the first place?
Yeah, so to start, if we're talking about automation, right? Automation has been around in organizations for many years, including ours, right? And we're a company of consumer goods and agriculture products. And so, automation has been something that's been going on, in every organization, including ours, in the form of, APIs, EDI, digitization, dashboarding, reporting, and, even ERPs, really all in the spirit of, getting better access to information, enabling people and employees and partners to focus on tasks that they were, uniquely positioned for. And so, when we talk about automation these days, kind of with a capital A, we're really talking about a current wave of what's going on. And what we're talking about generally these days is around robotic process automation, document processing, hyper automation, et cetera. So, I joined the wonderful company to help drive some of our technology agenda, and as far as exploring new technologies, how they can serve the business, how they can serve our employees, how we can serve our partners better. And so when I joined, at the time, automation and kind of the litany of buzzwords were, on every third-party analyst's lips, and is a big part of like what many organizations are talking about. So it was naturally something that I was first positioned to take on when I joined. So working with a lot of various teams, it wasn't just me, right? It was a whole lot of drawing from technology-centric people at our company, business-minded individuals, customer experience-minded people. It was really a full team of individuals that helped do this endeavor. So these automation tools really at the end of the day were brought in and designed to amplify the abilities of all of our employees, right? So the challenge here has always been focused on people are busy. We run a lean organization, and a portion of everyone's time is really focused on these routine tasks that are keeping them from focusing on those things that really they're uniquely positioned in. They went to school for, they practiced, they've trained, and there's just these routine tasks that keep them from pursuing more strategic projects, working more focused on customer experience, analyzing data, doing those things that humans are really, really strong at. So how can we minimize that percent that's focused on these routine, monotonous tasks, and really challenge the employees to grow and be more valuable, grow their careers, work more effectively, and just have more fulfilling job satisfaction, and simultaneously provide better value to the organization. So it's one of those amazing areas where it's really what's good for the organization is good for the employee, is good for the partners. It's really kind of a big win-win if you can do it correctly and cautiously. Another thing we're really keen on is being cautious, right? It's a new technology. You don't want to go jump in with 2 feet if you don't know where you're headed. So we've been very, very patient and very, very cautious, but that's generally how we've gotten started and why we got started.
So, Adam, what are some of the outcomes that you've been able to derive so far on your automation journey? If you can walk us through that.
Yeah. So, as you might imagine, it's very common that the focus is around hours saved, right? So, most of our tangible effort in the beginning and still to a present is making sure that those hours we're putting into the program result in a positive hours savings on freeing up at the end. So we started with a lot of finance, accounting, and operations in some particular areas that had ripe automation opportunities, and now we're at a stage where we've got about 90 automations live, representing tens of thousands of hours at this point that have been gotten repurposed to those individual teams, and it's really proven to really work for our environment. And we've proven out kind of the business case that you can save hours and you can measure those hours. So we're spending a lot more attention now on some of those softer or harder to measure benefits around reducing errors, increasing employee satisfaction, improving the customer experience. We've made sure to connect with those various teams that we've worked with as well, just to make sure that they're getting the experience that they really want. And when we do these testimonials or check in with teams that have had these process automations take place, it's almost immediately they repurpose that time and find these tasks and these special projects that they've been wanting to do for a long time, and give them that extra lift. So it's not to say it's not without challenges, and sometimes the first version of an automation isn't perfect. I think I actually just got an email this morning about a production issue, and our team's on top of it and trying to fix it and get it out there and keep that experience strong. But I see a lot of automations taking place in data prep, in processing of payments, things like that had kind of been just a very mechanized process, but using people doing that clicking. So we found a lot of value in this kind of early stage, and it's really just the beginning, right? We have a lot of other areas that we're interested in looking for, and partnering with Zinnov and others to look into as well.
Perfect. So, Adam, you touched upon a very important aspect of experience. Earlier in the day today, you would have heard us talk about the evolution of digital transformation and our thesis on systems of experience, or SOX, and how essentially automation is at the core of helping enterprises power their systems of experience, right? So it'll be great to get your thoughts on this thesis and what you see with respect to SOX, and how are you approaching SOX within the wonderful company?
Yeah, so it's a novel way of thinking about it, right? The progression from system of records all the way to kind of this concept of systems, of experience, right? We are moving closer and closer to having, the technologies and the tools that we're doing as various organizations focused on really adding that true value for the people, right? It's not just getting data in the right place, getting the mechanized aspects done, getting through the process. As we were mentioning earlier, I mean, there's only so many hours in the day, and this demand from employees, and I mean demand in a positive way, this kind of expectation from employees, partners, customers of this more personal, intimate, meaningful experience that's clean, that's supportive, that's fast. is really kind of where things are headed. And so, automation does a couple of things. One is if you automate some of those earlier things, the system of records, the processing systems, you can free up, engineer time, business time, et cetera, to focus on building these kind of experiential systems. But then also automation as a component in those systems themselves, right? If you can create, if say we're working with a customer and there's a lot of back and forth that requires a person to kind of get through their queue and answer their question and respond, you can do that in a more fast, more automated way. That customer is going to get their question answered faster. They're going to get their order quicker. And same with the employees, right? We actually were exploring and are about to go live with an evolution of a chatbot in our organization. And I've always been hesitant of the chatbot term because it's always been a subpar experience. But we've found a version and waited to the right time, and so now we're working on an automated chatbot for our kind of IT services that are able to answer questions that would have taken a lot longer and get that from an experience perspective, that employee the answer faster, response quicker, and still not diluting their experience from kind of a personal level. So we've always been a customer-centric organization, and this is really a customer and employee-centric environment, and this is kind of just the next step in enabling that. It's like it's easy to want to produce these types of experience we're talking about, but automation and these other tools are allowing it to actually become a reality and not just kind of a piece of paper and a goal and a mission statement on a wall.
Very interesting, Adam. And I think if you look at the specific technology areas within automation, you of course spoke about things like RPA and chatbots, which are again being powered by conversational AI. So as we look towards the next progression of automation within your company, right? I'm sure you are augmenting automation with a lot of AI, ML, and deep technology in-house. So can you walk us through some of these AI, ML enabled use cases and what technology, is next in line for you, and how you're really approaching this whole phenomena?
Yeah, we're still in the pretty early stages of kind of this notion of, AI, machine learning enabled technologies. I could also philosophically debate like where's the line between AI, machine learning, and really advanced automation that has complex if-then logic. But suffice it to say, we're exploring areas like intelligent document processing, with the support of Zinnov and others to push beyond kind of the brute force hard logic type automations into use cases that really require some more nonlinear, less structured processing. So if you're talking about intelligent document processing, right, it's the next evolution of kind of your OCR, optical character recognition, but not just turning non-structured data into structured data. It's picking it up and using it in sort of an intelligent way. So we're seeing a lot of opportunities in that space if we're talking about intelligence at the processing level. We know there's a ton of opportunities in this space, but we're trying to, again, like I said, be cautious and bite off a few automations in this kind of next more intelligent evolution, see if it works, make sure that we're getting the lessons out of it, and go from there, right? So it's not to say we haven't accomplished a lot, because we have. It's just we're focused on making those use cases very meaningful, and there's a lot of statistics that show that the majority of AI machine learning use cases don't actually have the desired value. And so let's be cautious, let's take our time, let's do it right, and make sure that it's an effective choice along the way.
Sure. And Adam, we have heard some of our other enterprise customers, grappling with several challenges when they implement AI, ML enabled use cases. Any challenges that you face while implementing intelligent document processing, or maybe even the chatbots that you were referring to earlier?
Yeah, I think we found that the tool set in space is still emerging and changing, very rapidly. There's established players in the automation space that are trying to expand into this area with somewhat mixed results, and then there's emerging players that few have heard of, that are coming up with new technologies that really break the mold of how these types of efforts are done. And so they're really challenging kind of this establishment. And one of the things we've had, as I said, we're sort of earlier on the journey, But we ended up starting with a vendor that we felt comfortable with. They were a brand name with an established technology platform, and this was an extension of that effort. And we worked with them. We did some proof of concepts, and it just wasn't providing the value. It was working, but not in the same way not in the level that we really were looking for. And so we ended up pivoting and going to working with a lesser known vendor that's got a newer technology that's really eager to partner and make this product work well. So I'd say, my advice on some of this early AI machine learning is to, focus on proof of concepts, pilots, short-term contracts till you feel comfortable with the tool, and before making a major commitment. And I think, adding one tool, one use case at a time is going to be effective, right? If you go, if you go to any conference on this topic, right, there's dozens of vendors showing a lot of different things. If you go around with a shopping cart and start picking off all those things, and implementing them all at the same time, it's going to be a messy task, and it's probably not gonna fit and stick well. So my advice would be, pick one, try it, see if it works, and don't be afraid to pivot if it doesn't. It's experimental landscape, so you have to be okay with occasionally being wrong and just not blaming anyone, chalking it up to a learning lesson and moving forward, right? I think that a lot of people are nervous about entering this space because they don't want to be wrong, and have chosen wrong, or a use case not stick. But you have to be okay. The alternative is you wait years and years until this is a bit more stable, and we really don't have time, as the space kind of becomes so valuable, to wait until it's a very clear process.
So in your experience, leveraging a specialist platform company, which is almost the best of breed for that particular area or technology area or a use case, has sort of worked out better than working with a single platform, which is a one-stop shop providing multiple technology areas, right? So that's been your experience overall.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I came into the automation journey, kind of hoping that the single platform hypothesis would work. But we've been really conscious about challenging that assumption. It's like it's very attractive to want to have one vendor, one contract, all on one roof. So that was what we kind of wanted. But the reality is, once you really compare and contrast, like, you end up really, we ended up gravitating more towards the best in breed approach, and making sure each tool fits well and is kind of effective. Again, we'd love to sit back and wait 5 years for the dust to settle and there be this kind of single platform vision that a lot of vendors are talking about. But it's just not something you can wait around for the Oracle, the Microsoft, et cetera, to kind of have that all figured out. You really have to just be very thoughtful about each tool you bring on, and be very cautious. But that's been our experience. I'm sure there's other organizations that have been, gone that monolithic route and it work out okay.
Understood. Yeah, I think we have a lot of other enterprise customers who are on a similar journey, Adam. So it's a very multi-vendor environment that we see in a lot of enterprise organizations, where we have both the larger platforms and also a lot of these specialist vendors being explored, for multiple use cases, multiple technologies. So good point on that. So Adam, if we zoom out and take a broader technology view, right, I would say we're in a very exciting phase with lots of newer technology areas coming together, right? So we talk about the likes of blockchain, Web3, metaverse, among others, right? What technology areas are you most excited about, Adam? And, what do you think is in the store, when you look at the future?
Yeah, I mean, despite being kind of a self-proclaimed futurist, I'm honestly a bit of a skeptic and critic sometimes of kind of the emerging space. I'm honestly still a bit skeptical on the metaverse world. I'm increasingly interested in kind of real life interactions with people and the human elements of work. And I think it's somewhat ironic that automation actually can help serve that purpose, and you're freeing people up to get away from their screens a bit and focus on the product and the people. So that's something I really, I think is a pleasant aspect of automation, that you wouldn't think that would do that, but it really is. So drones, robotics, autonomous vehicles, optical visual stuff is super fascinating for kind of those more physical industries, including our own. But similar with the AI ML topic, right? The use case is very important. The technology is still pretty new. It's easy to look at a demo and think, okay, well, this really, why couldn't this translate to, picking a piece of fruit off a tree? But it's incredibly complicated to translate kind of that human interaction. But I think there's a lot of opportunity in there, and again, in the spirit of really focusing on, these use cases need to be really meaningful. So, I'm cautious about it. But envisioning, right, you can see where it would go. It's just a question of, is that 5 years, 10 years, 15 years or out? It's going to still be a little too soon to call. But as far as Web3 blockchain in general, obviously there's been a lot of hype around it, and the floor's kind of fallen out a little bit. But I'm still very, very optimistic about the technology and the concepts there. And I think it's a natural evolution that the floor kind of had to fall out on the blockchain hype in order to really focus on those use cases that are meaningful. And not just throwing the word blockchain at everything and seeing if it sticks. So, I think that space is evolving, and it's going to be, interesting to see what happens in the next 5 years. For our organization, specifically though, I think, automation and analytics enablement technologies are going to keep us pretty busy for a while, right? It's a large bucket, and we're kind of still just scraping the surface of what all could be in this data and process automation world. That's kind of ahead of us.
Wonderful, Adam. And finally, before we sign off, any other books that we can expect from you, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, I recently released a new edition of the book with some updated content to keep up with the times, just because things move so quickly. So I've needed to iterate on that promise as well. As you've gathered from the conversation, I'm a little bit of a skeptic still, a little bit on some of these technology. I think there's benefits to the balance of raising one's hands and saying, well, maybe that's not the right use case, or I don't know if I see the same thing. It's easy to kind of get wrapped up in this momentum of the future. So I've thought about actually a book that's kind of a little bit of the opposite of that. That's focused on fixing solutions without technology, or something along the lines of a skeptic's guide to technology, but nothing more than a title or concept for now. But thanks for asking.
Great, perfect. Look forward to that book once it comes out, Adam. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for being a part of the event today.
You as well. Thanks so much.